Now I'm going to get to the question that I've just been dying to ask, and apologies if it's if it's rude, but you create this platform called BEME, which was sort of Snapchat before Snapchat, and it kind of it evolved through like sort of different kind of iterations of what it was. You sold it to CNN for an estimated $25 million. And then you referred to its ultimate demise as taking an L. And my question is, how the fuck do you sell a hotcake for $25 million and then that's an L?
Okay, where's the L?
It was an L for a couple reasons. It was an L because it wasn't $1 billion.
Okay.
It was an L because so much of my team, like first of all, let me give this podcast like a fucking, you guys, this is like an exclusive here. This is the first time someone's asked me about BEME.
Really?
Since my NDA expired with CNN.
Wow.
Not that I'm sitting on any secrets. Like, I'm an open book. In fact, like, it's so fun I can talk about this now, but like, there were 3 different occasions over the course of that 4-year contract where like CNN called my like people and they're like, yeah, Casey's talking about shit he's not allowed to talk about. And my agent would have to call me and be like, hey, dude, you gotta shut the fuck up. And I'd be like, fuck, I'm sorry. Like, I'm incapable of not being open. Like, I'm just like, that's just the kind of guy I am.
Sure. When did your NDA expire?
I want to say it was 4 years. 4 years after the deal was signed. So like last May or something like that. It might have been 3 years. But to answer your question, like, I started a tech company because I was really excited about the idea of starting a tech company. And I think we had a great idea for a product. And you said Snapchat before Snapchat. We were Snapchat before Snapchat, but then Snapchat launched Stories. And when they launched Stories, I was like, oh shit, that's like what we're building, but way better. And they released it before us. So like, we were Snapchat before Snapchat, but we were also Snapchat
later to market.
And we weren't as good. Yeah. It's like, look, Snapchat users, I know you love your product and I know it's great, but we've got something worse for you. Just give us a few more months.
If you'll just be patient.
Right. If you'll be patient, we'll get you something even worse.
Act now, you'll pay twice as much.
Right, exactly. No, I think we had an amazing team and we did have something that was really compelling. Like, the thesis of that app was amazing. It was like, not about filters. It's just about sort of sharing the real world around you. And I think a lot of people spoke to that. And I think since then, we've seen other apps be successful because they represent some version of that. Like, people yearn for the truth when everything is like fucking face-shaping filters and stuff. Like, you just want some reality. So we had a great product. And CNN's enthusiasm, I think, was naively, I didn't realize how much it was for my reach and my success.
Right.
Like, I really pushed them hard. And like, the original pitch came because Jeff Zucker, the CNN boss, who I think just recently stepped down, he was a great guy. I had a wonderful experience with him, but I met with him and he's like, what do I have to do to get you to come over to CNN? And I was like, nothing. There's nothing CNN has that I'm interested in. I love being on YouTube. And I was like, but your tech sucks. Like, your app sucks. Like, your technology is garbage. I was like, you should buy my tech company and we should build stuff together. And that's where it came from. And that's what they bought. They bought my tech company. They kept every employee on. And I was really excited about building technology with them. And I think that ultimately, like, a big company like that, they've got like shareholders and all kinds of shit that as a nimble startup, you don't have to confront. They need to make money. They have to show how we're making money. So the kind of company that I like to build, which is like, give us 3 years to figure out exactly who we are and how we're going to make this work, was like, no. We need profits in 6 months, sort of thing. Like, we need revenue in 6 months. So here's how we have to. And they weren't wrong or unfair to ask that or to expect that. But I think that it was a misalignment to take like a really nimble tech startup that has sort of the mentality of entrepreneurs and founders in trying to sort of force that round peg into the square hole, which is like whatever Turner is, a 50-year-old institution. And that's where the misalignment came from. And I think that they tried to save that by, getting rid of my partner and I after a year. They fired Matt and me, which was super amicable. And the people who did it right. And it was a great thing. Like, everyone at CNN was fucking cool as shit about it. But then they brought my whole team internal. And like, that for me was a big L, because like every single employee at BEME was hired because like I vouched for that company, and like I felt like in some part they were all there because of me.
So you're saying that they let you and Matt go, but they sort of stole your.
No, almost the opposite. Like they let us all go, and Matt and I were really adamant about like you can't fire the team, and they were really forceful about the fact we're keeping the whole team together. We're bringing everybody internal.
Oh, so you were stoked on that.
Sort of. What I wasn't stoked on, like it was nice that everybody wasn't losing their job. It was shitty because everybody signed up to work for a cool ass startup, and now everybody literally has to check in and go into this gigantic building in Midtown and work at CNN. And then like shortly thereafter, like, you know, Matt and I had no part of the company. We weren't like really supposed to be interacting with our former employees at all. But, you know, you start hearing stories and people are unhappy and people start leaving, and then they broke up this team and this team's not working out, and this person could keep their job if they moved, so they didn't keep their job. It just sort of fell apart. And like the money, the paycheck, fuck yeah, like big success. I couldn't be more excited about that. Every founding member of the company before the acquisition got paid. My personal assistant, like a kid who was like 22 out of college, and like his job was to like make sure the studio lights were always on and like deal with admin bullshit. Like he got like the kind of check where you could buy like a very decent house. And we made sure of that. Like everybody vests 100% day one. Like we fought for the team. But in the end, like I really, and I still to this day, like really feel like I let that team down. Because like the success of that company would have succeeded because of me, and its failure it failed because of me. So I can have a litany of excuses of why CNN made it really hard to succeed. I think it's all bullshit. In the end, like if I still should have been able to figure out how to navigate that and find success, and I didn't.
So in the end, the L is the company culture, and like sort of this exciting thing about working for a tech startup just got lost because now those people work for CNN.
I think that's a nuanced way of getting into it. I think the L for me was about integrity. Like I didn't feel like I could walk away with my head high just because like I got a really dope paycheck.
That's crazy because we were talking to Mark Cuban a couple weeks ago, and his whole thing was in the .com bubble, he sold his company to Yahoo, and like right before the bubble burst, he got millions of dollars, and then like almost immediately after the transaction, what he sold for millions of dollars was like completely worthless, I think.
I think it was closer to billions.
I think you're right. I think it might have actually been billion.
Yeah,
okay.
Was it 300 million?
Or something like that.
Yeah, but it's ever since then, I think it's hailed as like the best business move ever that Mark Cuban made.
It was the best business move for him, right?
In unloading this company before it became totally worthless. And I think that's on some level very comparable to what you did with BEME, because it never even really like exploded in the first place,
Right.
and like you were able to sell it for like arguably more than it was worth, and you unloaded it, and then it kind of went away. So like to me, that's just like a win.
I think it all comes down to what's the end game. Like how do you define success? And if the definition of success is like get the fucking bag, then Mark Cuban's the most successful if your definition of success is something different from that, then it's I think a little bit more complicated. And like my definition of success for that company was a little bit more than like me getting that CNN bag, and like no regrets. I'm very proud of what we did. Like one of the things I never talk about is the fact that like when you're like the CEO, when you're like the founder, you raise all this money, you write like once a month, once every 2 months, these updates to all of your investors, and they're formal. And like truth be told, my partner Matt mostly wrote them and then sent them to me, and I would put them into my own email and send them because I'm like, I can barely read and write over here.
High school dropout.
I had a D- in 10th grade English. Matt got college, man. That kid's smart. And then like, so you have to send these monthly updates. Like, here's what we're up to. Here's where we're struggling. Here's where we're succeeding. I just stopped sending those because the company was just doing so poorly. This is before CNN bought us. We were out of money. We were just fucked. Users were dropping off, and I just stopped sending those. And when you stop getting those, that means the company's going tits up. And then 6 months later, I had to call all the investors, every single investor on the list. And I was calling them to let them know that we had sold the company and how big their returns were. And that day to me, like that is the benchmark of success. All these people, whether they're just like, venture capitalists who are only interested in a return, or they're much more thoughtful people who are like, I believe in you, Casey, and I want to support you. They all looked at me and decided, I believe in this guy enough to write him a check. And the fact that I was able to deliver on that to every single person was a huge deal. Like to me, that moment was the ultimate success, much more so than the paycheck. So when I talk about like an L at BEME, like again, I got that paycheck was great, but like if the paycheck had been a fraction of that, but like we had built something that to this day is still thriving, and all those employees like went on to bigger and better things or felt great about what their contributions were, that would have like I'd sleep with a bigger smile at night.
But how do you know the employees aren't thinking that right now?
They might be, but I know that like in the years, months after we sold the company, whether they were working for us under CNN or they were working directly at CNN under a different boss, that it wasn't the same level of enthusiasm and satisfaction that it was working for a nimble startup, or actually a part of something that is kind of your own, that you have a kind of ownership over.
Because they all had a bunch of barcodes on their necks, Scott. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Scott, it's also like in that space, and I've been out of the tech game for 5 years now, but like then, and I'm sure it's the same way now, like mobile app developers that can deal in video are the most sought after programmers out there. Like they're so exclusive. We had to talk a lot of our employees into moving to New York from the West Coast where they lived. Like every single one of them could have left working for us on a Monday and gone and gotten 3x the paycheck on a Tuesday from Facebook, which was just 12 blocks north from us. Like every one of them could have done that. And every one of them said, no, I love this company. I believe in these guys. I love Matt. I love Casey. I want to be a part of what they're building. And like the fact that I wasn't able to deliver on that, like that sucks. That sucks. These are people that are all fucking smarter than me and more capable than me, and that have like built their careers out. And like that's part of their gamble too. They knew they were taking a chance. But like, man, would I have loved for every one of those people who took a chance on me, for me to be able to just like give them those kind of dividends that I was able to give those investors.
Mm-hmm. Do you have another startup in you?
I don't know. I mean, it's like a much bigger conversation, which is like, now I'm sort of confronted with this fact that I'm 40 years old and I've got money, which is weird. It's like, used to be on welfare and now I've got money. And like, I don't need to work for money right now. So therefore, like, where's the motivation? And if you like dig deep enough in yourself, like where I've landed is like, I can either go work for money or just like hang out with my 2-year-old. So like today she and I like played in the garden and like tried not to prick our fingers on roses, and then we ate like candy. That was way more fun than starting a company. So nice. So like that's kind of where I am right now, is like, I don't know, when you're faced with the question of like, you can do whatever you want today, what do you want to do? Every day for me is like, I want to play with my kids and go surfing.
It's called Steve-O's Hot Sauce for Your Butthole. And if you go on Amazon and type in Steve-O's Hot Sauce for Your Butthole and order yourself a bottle, you'd be really helping me. Because right now we're ranked number 30 on all of Amazon. And if you buy a bottle, we might go up the ladder. And that would mean a lot. So please get on Amazon and buy Steve-O's Hot Sauce for Your Butthole. Yeah. Yeah, dude.